It's time.
Five.
It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
We gotta fight the powers that be. Got so many voices. Sit on the sea. Giving up all around me.
Yeah, we got to fight the powers that be, assuming we know who the powers are. I thought the people were the power. Are we not the power? I don't know. I thought we were the power. Well, that's the promise. And it always comes down to what's the promise and what's the reality. And let me tell you what the promise is. Government says, you know what? You allow us to exist. You let us, be out here and we get our salary and we get our shiny badges and uniforms and all that kind of stuff. And we pinky swear, we promise that we are going to protect your individual rights. So, that is the whole purpose of government. Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson thing, man. You have a revolution. They said, this is why we're doing it. And this is how you know when the government's bad. When they're not protecting your individual rights, then they're bad. We just had today, copblock.org, Liberty on Tour. Pete and a demo there in Massachusetts saying, oh, man, you videotape police officers, man, they didn't like that none too much. They charging them with felonies, years in jail. Well, they won. But is that always the case? No. If there wasn't video, they'd be in jail. If they didn't have the video evidence of what actually happened and everything, in jail. So what is government doing? Are they there protecting my rights? Well, you have a lot of people that are in government as they got their own interests. They want government to do what they want them to do. And it's always good to have a big, giant suitcase full of voters, big suitcase full of activists. You can wield this around, a block of votes, a block of influence, a block of power. One thing that's always been successful has been anti-war. People are viscerally at a base fundamental principle core level. You know what? It's pretty easy for me to raise my hand. I vote not war. Well, that's taken advantage of often to do fill-in-the-blank, stuff with. Now, I'm wondering what the base principle would be from someone in a position like Paul, Kawika, Martin, Peace Action. Now, Peace Action, as you are doing actions for peace, I would imagine, as you're doing this, your fundamental primary base principled argument for us not being in these wars is what? I mean, what is there such a thing as a just war, and how would that happen, and what fundamental principled argument are you making that we shouldn't be in these wars?
Yeah. Well, I think, theoretically, even our board for peace action would have arguments whether there's just war or not war. But we don't have to have these arguments because we can just look at the wars at hand. And we didn't think that the war in Afghanistan was going to solve any issues. We certainly didn't support a war in Iraq that was based on lies. And now we have a war in Libya, which is kind of messy. So there's certainly different reasons for each one of them. But the thing in Afghanistan is we don't see it as a solution to the issues there. The RAND Corporation, who is no peacenik organization, it's a for-profit arm of the military, did a study of insurgencies. And historically, the only way insurgencies are solved is either through local policing or a political solution. And what do we spend about 90% or 95% of our resources on? On the military solution in Afghanistan. And so that's, what's the main reason that we're against the war in Afghanistan is because we're not using the resources that we could use in the U.S. to actually have a solution there in that country. Instead, we're going to spend $100 billion this year on a strategy that's not working.
Well, I mean, what strategy would work? I mean, we're looking at, I can give you mine. You just leave. I mean, but I would imagine that you would have a different strategy, and what might that be?
We're probably right on the same page. I mean, our official position. I mean, of course, on our banners and stuff, it says "Get out now." Well, that's a political statement, not an exit strategy. I mean, our exit strategy is get all troops and contractors. People know we have 100 to 120,000 troops there now, and about double that in contractors or mercenaries, whatever you want to call them. That's the same in Iraq. It's usually double the amount. So there's tons of people and tons of money there. So we certainly say get all the troops and contractors out within a year, and then focus energies on the political solution. That's the hard stuff, getting people to the table, doing negotiations. If you look at any of these other insurgencies in history, that's the way these things are solved. There needs to be solved around a negotiating table, not on the military field.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about negotiations real quick. I mean, not that I'm against negotiating. I'm just wondering what role America has in this. I mean, why would we even be there? I mean, just, you know what? Y'all have fun negotiating. We're over here now. I mean, what role will we play? We supply the table? I mean, what's the role the U.S. would have?
Yeah, I'm certainly not opposed to U.S. standing aside and saying, okay, it's time for Afghanistan and its neighbors to figure their stuff out. I am certainly not opposed to that. But to the fact that unfortunately the U.S. does have power, if any of that power would be used on negotiating and trying to find a peaceful settlement, I think that would be helpful. Although I'm not opposed at all just to let the Afghans try to figure that out. But I think that some of the Afghans would say that they would like the U.S. to help sit down and bring some people to the table.
I mean, it's not that I'm opposed to them getting whatever advocating for what they want, but that's not even. I don't even go that far. It's does anybody give a crap what I want? I mean, as a taxpayer here, or Lord forbid the Constitution saying that, look, man, we're just not we shouldn't have a dog in this fight, and I can see just the mentality that somehow we should or can or whatever. It just sends us down this dark path, and I'm trying to get from someone it's unique that we have an opportunity for you and I to have a civil discussion and kind of understand what's going to happen in 2012. As these issues come in, I would really like to see, as Angela put so well, and Dr. John Walsh was talking about, he's starting to bend this way. They're going, we need to, put this stuff aside and focus on just not being everywhere, not just bring it all home. The empire can close all the bait. We're done. It's not in the Constitution. It's not part of the deal. It's not, but man, you'll start losing some support. And as I look in your bio here, it has one paragraph: as Peace Actions PAC director, he uses his electoral expertise to fund and endorse progressive candidates. So it's peace action, but it's not like anti-war candidates. They also have other boxes they got to check off, right?
Yeah. So the five main issues that we work on is bring the troops home from Afghanistan, bring the troops home from Iraq, thwart any kind of military intervention into Iran, abolish nuclear weapons, and cut Pentagon spending. So we're going to look at candidates that do those things. I mean, we have endorsed, last Republican we endorsed was Pam Godshaw in Michigan, and she was perfect on these issues. Unfortunately, most Republicans, especially on Iran or cutting the Pentagon budget, are not on our side. That is starting to change, as we just saw some recent votes that happened on the defense appropriations bill, where there was a good 60 or so, kind of mostly about a third of them freshmen, who are willing to make significant votes on voting to reduce the Pentagon budget. So I'm definitely going to be looking at candidates that fit those five things. Doesn't have to be Democrats, doesn't have to be Republicans. We've also endorsed Green, and I'm sure if any of my affiliates asked us to do Libertarian, that's also a possibility.
Well, let's go ahead and go through your list again. Let's make sure, because, the first thing is, one, you have to understand, I don't vote. Not since 2000. I've run for even since I stopped voting, I've run for U.S. Senate against McCain. I've been, I'm out there, man. I'm giving them what for. I just don't trust the system. I have Brad Friedman on from Brad Blog. He and I go at it all the time. And I'm going, yeah. You of all people know how bad it is, and you're still encouraging people to vote? Are you kidding me? So I don't really have an advocacy, somebody go out and vote. I do have an advocacy for people to go out and express themselves in other ways. I vote every time I put a sign up. I vote every time I do a show. I vote every time I put an article up on the side. I vote a lot, but I count it. I don't give a crap what the computer, government's computer debold private contracting, secret tabulation code crap says. I count it. So with that said, you have to understand, as we go through your list here, I want to make sure that we are able to get an idea of who may or may not qualify for this. Now, when we come back, we'll go ahead and get right to your list, and we'll go ahead and talk about it, because I want to make sure that we get, it detailed and what the qualifications are and who might qualify. Then we'll take a look in the future and see how Mr. Martin's doing. We'll be right back here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, just a little bit.